To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Yo, how's it going, guys? Got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So on today's podcast, I have on Isaac Smith, founder of Vector Custom Hunting Arrows. So today we dive into building the perfect hunting arrow. We talk about weight tolerance and straightness tolerance. We talk about components. We talk about aerodynamics. We talk about dynamic spine and matching that to your bow. We talk fletchings about size, helical fletch, and offset versus straight fletch. We talk broadheads, basically everything that has to do with a hunting arrow we talk about on today's podcast. So made for a great conversation. And I've actually been using the same hunting arrow for the last 6 or 7 seasons with no change. I get great performance out of it, great groups, great forgiveness. And this year I switched to the Vector ZMR Western hunting arrow. I am getting better groups and better performance out of this arrow than the one that I've been building for 6 or 7 years. So I'm so impressed by Vector, really excited to be partnered with them for this next season, and really excited about the products they're coming out with. So on today's podcast, learn absolutely everything about arrows. So we'll get right into it. Just want to thank a couple of my sponsors. So I want to thank Vector Custom Arrows. They're the new sponsor for Eastmans Elevated, and I'm stoked to be using them this season. Like I say, getting great performance. I've had multiple conversations with Isaac about what's important to me for a Western hunting arrow, and just couldn't be more excited to be using these arrows. The craftsmanship is great on them. They have a custom website you go to. You put in all the specifics of your arrows, and they build you the perfect arrow with a dynamic spine that matches your bow. Great craftsmanship, great components, and just a great shooting arrow. So I know this arrow is going to do great for me this season. If you guys are in the market for a new arrow, make sure to go check out Vector. I also want to thank Savage. Savage is building great firearms. So I did a rifle build last season, built up a 6.5 Creedmoor, put a Sig Sauer scope on it, and man, that thing just shoots so good out of the box. I'm so impressed. I went to shoot it again this weekend just to dial everything in with a clean, cold barrel, and the groups are unreal, and then able to step back at longer distances and put good groups in. So just couldn't be more impressed with what Savage is coming out. So I really like the 110 Ultralight is a great platform, but they've got all these different rifle platforms that you can choose from. And so the 110 Ultralight, it comes with an Accu trigger, which you can adjust the trigger yourself. It also comes with an Accu stock where you can adjust the length of pole, you can adjust the comb height, really make that rifle fit you. And there's just no better shooting rifle on the planet. These things are just awesome. So super impressed with it. If you're in the market for a new rifle, make sure to check out Savage. I also want to thank Sig Sauer Outdoors. So Sig Sauer builds great optics. I'm so impressed with their optics. So that Savage that I was telling you about, got that set up with a new scope on it. Things performing great. And then I'm using their binoculars. So I love the quality of their binoculars. And I have a pair of 11 by 45s, the Zulu 9s, and then also have a pair of 15 by 56s, which just changed the game. A pair of 15s tripoded up works so well for Western hunting, for glassing distant terrain, and for picking apart timber. So I know these things have created stocks for me in the last couple seasons. So really pumped at the optical performance of those things. I also really like their image stabilization binos. They have a couple different pairs, a 10 by 32, and they also have a pair of 16 by 45s. These things change the game. So to walk over a windy ridge and be able to click a button and have all that image stabilized is a game changer. And I've I've convinced my hunting buddies of this just by using them. I spot more game, create more opportunities. So I really like these image stabilizing binos and believe these are the future. I also like their spotting scope. Again, great optical performance. And then I believe they build like the best rangefinders on the market. So I got a new one this past season. It's a Kilo 5K 7 by 25 millimeter digital ballistic laser rangefinder. So it does everything. It does angle compensation. It's got a quick laser with a quick readout. You can do priority target, which I've found is the best setting for this new rangefinder. You can also do first or last target, but priority seems to be the best for me. It's got absolutely everything you'll need in a rangefinder, shoots the same ranges for both light and dark targets. I just trust my entire season to this rangefinder as it's such a huge part of the archery game. So if you're in the market for anything optic, make sure to check out Sig Sauer. With that, over at Eastman's, got some great new Beyond the Grids hitting, so I'll make sure to release that on my social media when that comes out. I've got a brand new one from last season that I believe they're in final editing right now. Can't wait to see that one come out. So you can find that on YouTube, Eastman's Hunting TV, or Beyond the Grid. We're also on the Outdoor channel, Eastman's Hunting TV, so you can set your DVR if you run a satellite on that. And check out our magazines, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal. And you can get a subscription to both with an outdoor edge knife if you put in the promo code ELEVATED321. You can also save a little bit on our Eastman's Tag Hub membership or our Elite membership. It does a Tag Hub with the magazines and that. And I believe you can save 20% if you put in the promo code Brian. And yeah, with that, just cruising along here. Yeah, been working hard and getting in my training and then also getting in my shooting. And we're into bear season now, so it's still a touch early. We've been getting some snow and cold here in Montana, but looking to get after it here as it starts to warm up. And I've heard of a couple bear sightings, so starting to happen around here. So super excited to get out for some of that and just looking forward to this fall season. So trying to plan out everything, trying to draw some tags, which I'm sure you guys are too, and yeah, see if I can get my hunting season all laid out and all the hunts I'm going to do and fill up my season. So it already looks like a full good season, and just crossing my fingers for one of those lucky draws as well. So hope you guys are drawing some tags and planning out your season. Couldn't be more excited for it here. It's going to be a great year, 2022. So, all right, guys. With that, let's get into this podcast. So, building the perfect hunting arrow. This is with Isaac Smith from Vector Custom Arrows. I'm your host, Brian Barney, Eastman's Elevated. Here we go. I'm here with my buddy Isaac. So Isaac runs Vector Custom Arrows, and so I've been messing with these arrows for the last few months and super impressed by them. In fact, I just got a new dozen of your ZMR, more of your Western hunting arrow, Isaac. Man, you guys are killing it over there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. I started Vector Arrows 2 years ago, and really, the first year and a half, kind of just fletching arrows at the kitchen table. And in the last year here, it's really blown up. We've got, a bunch of employees and a warehouse and, working with guys like you. And it's been a heck of a ride, man. People really picking up on it and just trying to make something valuable for bow hunters like us.
Oh, you so are. It's so cool to see these smaller companies pop up. Like for so long, it's big corporations, and there's always a need or a niche for improvement, on these arrows.
Sure.
And so I love to see like an entrepreneur like yourself come up and say, hey, like they don't build an arrow for me, or they're not doing this quite right, or this can be done better. I'm just going to start my own company and I'm going to do this right from the start. And that's exactly what you've done. And these new arrows, man, I'm getting such good groups out of these things. I am so stoked for these. The craftsmanship is so good. There's so many things that you guys are doing right with really matching the shafts to each other's to everybody's bow instead of just going off an arrow spine chart. You guys are constantly evolving your components, and now you just have rock solid nocks, rock solid front end components with a great spin, micro diameter arrows, and then 2 different sizes. And then basically you've set up this website where guys can put in all their specifics, and you build these arrows, you cut them to the right length, and ship them to them, and they show up in the mail, man. Just an awesome business model.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, it really started because I was building my own arrows. I did a lot of tinkering and, was able to get a lot more performance out of my own arrows just paying attention to a couple of specific things like the, dynamic spine and things like that, like really dialing in for my setup, and would build arrows for a lot of friends, and kind of turned into just, a little more than a hobby. And 2 years ago, we started Vector on this idea of building arrows to fit your specs, right? So like when I was getting started, I would just pull up like Archer's Advantage or Pinwheel, 2 really popular like arrow calculator softwares, and put in all the specs and make sure I had the right point weight and the right dynamic spine. And for the bow I was using, for my draw length, draw weight, or for whoever I was building arrows for. And initially kind of thought I'll just build like a website that's like a digital arrow builder. It'll make sure that the arrow that you're building, that you're ordering, is going to fit your specs and fit the use case that what you're going to use it for. So I was like thinking, I'll just, register to become a dealer for parts, for shafts and components that are already available on the market, and we'll just kind of build them. But I was actually in Colorado elk hunting, with a buddy my buddy Justin, and he was like, man, if you're going to put in all that work, you might as well just like go make a great arrow at the same time. Like, it's not just a software solution, like make a great hardware solution too. So it added some runway time to get Vector off the ground, but we went and put a lot of effort into making a couple great shafts, and on that the hammer is what has been available up until now. It's kind of a heavy arrow.
HMR, right?
Yeah, we call it the hammer, and we like to hashtag drop the hammer and stuff like that. But yeah, the HMR, and then the new arrow is much lighter. It's called the ZMR. We're going to be dropping that in the next couple weeks to the public. But yeah, we built a software tool that allows you to put in your draw length, draw weight, bow model, point, or broadhead weight, and it spits out either an HMR or a ZMR that will fly best out of your bow. And really, perfect arrow flight is extremely important in bow hunting, because that's what allows you to maintain all the energy in your arrow. Otherwise, if you have an arrow that's zigzagging all the way to the target, like you're just losing energy all the way to the animal, and that's not ideal. So
no,
yeah.
Dude, you're spot on. Like finding that dynamic spine, and I've been using that Archer's Advantage now for probably 15 or 20 years, and I think it's one of my best kept secrets of really getting a forgiving archery setup. Like, sure, people tell you, yeah, you can go a little bit stiffer spine, but looking off a spine chart, you can't input your point weight, or you can't input your exact draw weight, or like maybe you're drawing 72 pounds and not 70, and you kind of got to draw some conclusions on a spine chart where the software program that you're talking about matches up, marries that arrow spine perfectly to your setup. And I just think, like, not only does it rob you of energy, it also robs you of accuracy. Like, to get a forgiving setup where every time you release an arrow, you're getting a good flight out of that arrow, it just makes for tighter groups. And that's what I'm finding with your guys' arrows too, with the helical fletch that you guys have on that fletching, and I really like the fletching design, as I think it's really quiet, but you're getting that arrow to spin, and you're getting stability out of it, and man, I'm just getting such solid groups out at range, like
Good.
those specs that you came up with. And I'm going to be shooting the ZMR this season, which is a Western arrow, which you described. Like, you have the HMR and the ZMR, and I think, you know, it's like so much of archery is personal preference, and those HMR are great for, like we were talking before the podcast, you like them on whitetails because they come in so heavy, you get such great penetrating power from them that most of your shots on whitetails are close, but you can drive through that shoulder, really get the penetrating power, and same with you know, even Western game, a heavier arrow is going to be quieter. You're going to get good penetration for, like, elk, for making sure you get an exit on them. And so I think that arrow is a great build. And those for me came in at like 550 or so with the 125 head. But now you have the ZMR, which I think is the perfect fit for us Western hunters. So they come in a little bit lighter. For me, they came in right at 450 with the 125 head, which is the perfect mix of great penetrating power, but also range forgiveness, which is so important with our longer shots out west. And so I just think that ZMR is the perfect build for me. But again, a lot of that is personal preference. Micro diameter, great components. Man, it's just going to be an awesome arrow. And it's actually, like, I've worked years on building my arrows for my bow, and your arrows right now are outperforming my old arrows, which is a good thing, man.
Oh, dude, that's so cool. So cool, man. Yeah, it's astonishing how I don't know why nobody has done this before, but, like, it's pretty simple to run some numbers through a calculator. If it's built well, and ours is getting better and better as we have more data to put into it from users. But you really can build a really good arrow with a computer, like, because you know, we've all been tinkering for years now to get really dialed, and obviously there's still a lot to dial in even if you buy vector arrows, like, but we just want to give you the arrow that is as close to tuned as possible out of your setup. Like, if you have a bow that's in spec and you plug in your numbers on the website, it's going to get you really, really, really close. Like, we've done some videos and stuff, like, where it's like, we've had people visit the shop and, you know, be, you know, fairly new to bow hunting or just archery in general, and get them dialed in a few shots with the right arrow. Like, but I understand, like, most of archery, the industry is through shops. So shops have to stock raw shafts, they have to stock all the components, and they do setup in a brick and mortar setting, and so that means, you know, it's mostly retail based sales from these big corporations that sell arrow parts. Like, they're just not built to do direct to consumer type stuff. So, like, that was really the goal, is let's just kind of reverse that. Let's build our own minimum viable product of a calculator that lives on the site, takes the right information, and then you just get arrows that are ready to shoot. Like, they're cut to your length, inserts glued, everything. And it's kind of just a backwards process, but maybe the way that it should have been. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think it's the way it should have been. And yeah, well, and I'm so impressed at the craftsmanship as well. Is like I've been building arrows for 20 years. It takes a long time to figure out the right glue for the components, and then I'm really impressed by your new front end components on this ZMR and also the HMR, the one piece outsert, and it's one
Yeah.
piece, but it inserts in, and then that collar around there really protects the connection between that outsert and the shaft, and so it protects that. Where, dude, I can shoot your front end components into a concrete wall, unscrew the tip, put a new one back in, and that's good to go. So those front end components are going to be golden. You're actually offering another front end component system as well, kind of teamed up with a different broadhead company, right?
Yeah. So the vector arrow system will be compatible with all broadheads, just like a normal 8/32 threaded broadhead works on the HMR and the ZMR. But we wanted to also make another level available, so we're teaming up with Iron Will. I've used their heads for years. They're really, really hard to beat. I think they're the best heads ever made. And then Bill is a friend of ours. He's offered a lot of input and coaching as we develop these arrow systems. He's helped us a lot with just understanding how the right vein setup can offer the best forgiveness when shooting with broadheads, because we tend to shoot all year with practice tips and then expect the same thing when we throw broadheads on, and it's not the same thing. So,
Dude, not even close, right? It's not
no,
even the same sport. It's like, it's amazing. It's just like having fletchings on the front of your arrows. And that goes for fixed blades,
For
it
sure.
goes for expandables, it goes for all of it. They just
Right.
shoot different, they're less forgiving. And so it is like trying
Right.
to find out the right fletching combination that'll steer those broadheads accurately. And
For sure.
and yours definitely does. Like, you got that really good helical on them where it's really spinning and stabilizing those arrows. And like I just got a new set of the ZMRs that you sent me so I can be set up
Mm-hmm.
for bear season here. And
Sweet.
I am so impressed how that thing is guiding fixed blade heads, man. It is just
Oh, good.
driving them home.
Right on, man. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of experimenting that goes into that. I think we've already sent you multiple sets of arrows to play with, and it probably hasn't been the same twice, just because we were dialing in that ZMR system. But yeah, it's been a work in progress. I think it's in a really good place. Really, just building in forgiveness was the whole idea, because there's things you can do to an arrow system that kind of cover your butt from making a bad move in a hunting scenario. I know that I don't shoot with perfect form when I'm hunting because my heart's racing and I might be in an awkward position, and you know how it is. It's like when it's go time, you're not thinking about all that you are when you're shooting on the 3D range or whatever. So building in that forgiveness, making sure there's enough vein and control to keep an arrow flying good. That's super important. So, but also, yeah, very much a work in progress. And I think the ZMR will be available with 4-fletch in kind of a mid-profile vein, and then 3-fletch in a high-profile vein. So, depending on what rest you're going to use, one might be better than the other. But to me, they're pretty comparable at long ranges. I think the 4-fletch hits a little bit higher for me, but it's gonna be different for everybody.
Yeah.
Depending on what rest and what kind of clearance you need. But yeah, I'm really pumped about it, man. And the Iron Will components too, like his just Bill has put a lot of effort and years of engineering into making a really bomb-proof system, and now with his Snyder Core component system, it's pretty next level durability. Like, I don't know how you could ask any more of a component system. So yeah, just really excited to partner with him on that. I think it'll be really valuable for Western hunters, and he kind of already has like a big Western user base. So really making an arrow to fit the ideal broadhead is kind of exciting. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those cut on contact that he has with the blades, and such great craftsmanship and quality into his heads, and so much engineering too. And it's part of the reason why I really like working with you, Isaac. As you say, everything's a work in progress. Is you're constantly trying to evolve and improve things, which you're not just looking at your arrow and saying, okay, this is it. This is the arrow we're going to sell for the next 10 years. Instead, you're
Right.
just trying to further the progression on it. And you're right. Like,
Sure.
I love like that fletching cut you have on the back also makes for a really quiet fletching in flight. And I'm never quite sure if animals are jumping from the noise of the bow or the noise of the arrows, but I know sitting down range, arrows are drastically different in the noise they make. And finding a quiet fletch like that, I'm getting mine done in the 4 fletch. And I'm with you, a bigger, like I get a bigger 3 fletch with a higher profile vane is going to give you more steering, or the 4 fletch with the smaller profile vane. So I can tell you've done your homework and your research in steering these things. But I've also noticed that those fletchings are some of the quietest in-flight fletchings. They remind me a lot of Flex Fletch Silent Nights, the fletchings that I've done a bunch of testing with and found.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that fletching you're using.
Yeah, it's that shield cut on the back.
Yes.
Kind of magic.
It is. It sure quiets him down, doesn't it?
Sure. Yep, for sure. And we were hesitant to even do a helical as a standard in order to keep things quiet. So up till now, the hammer, the HMR that is, was all straight fletched and only 4 fletched. So, adding that helical allowed us to make 3 fletch an option for the ZMR, because you do get more control with that helical over a straight fletch, even if there's an offset. So yeah, man, a lot of experimentation's gone into it. And you said that about constant improvement and stuff. It's like, why is it that all the bow companies get to have a new take on their flagship bows every year, but like the arrows never change, Like we want to make our arrow systems better as we get more feedback from customers, like every year. So every year there will be tweaks and improvements, and you can get our existing arrow catalog built to your specs. So like, next year the HMR will get an update, and we'll have the HMR version 2, and we'll make some improvements that we believe make it more forgiving, more accurate, and a better calculation to be built to your specs. So using data that we gather from customers to make the calculation better. If we tend to build slightly stiff spine wise, that can make it more forgiving. But if there's just little adjustments like that can happen. And as we get more data, that the experience should get better, Like, I was just trying to explain this to somebody the other day. Like, there are businesses that, like a gym, right? Where if there's too many members at the gym, then the trainers can't offer the same level of service to the members, right? Because they're just spread thin. But then you have businesses like Amazon that use customer data to improve customer experience, right? So we're trying to do that with arrows. Like, you would think that building custom arrows at scale would be challenging, and it certainly is. But by making one system called the ZMR and then building it according to a few specs from the user, we can really dial in a set of arrows to the customer, but do it at scale, do it for thousands of bow hunters. So, and using that data to make the most efficient and valuable experience possible and the best results possible. So, yeah, that's the name of the game.
I love it, dude. You're a student of the game, and I love how you're talking to all these smart people. Like you have an arrow company, and you've got an arrow that flies great, but you're talking to Bill from Iron Wheel, and you're getting his insight. I mean, since we've been teamed up, and we've been talking about this for a while, and I've been testing your arrows, but you're one that reaches out to me and asks me what I think about them. What do I think I could be improved? You get my thoughts on the front end components, on the broadhead system. Like you're constantly taking in input to make your product better, which I think is great. And one of the things that I like really appreciate about this partnership. And so like you definitely listen to me and in any of the conversations we've had, and now you're just like that ZMR is such a great Western hunting arrow. Like I like that that range forgiveness is so important to me. So like when I'm getting those shots from 40 to 60, if I misjudge the yardage by a yard or 2 yards, or that animal takes a step, or a lot of times I've got a quartering away shot, and when I range find, I'm hitting the butt of the animal, but the vitals is actually a yard forward from that.
Sure.
And so having that range forgiveness of that ZMR, my favorite arrow weight over the years has been right around 450, exactly where your ZMR landed for me, And so like I didn't even have to change my sight tape from my old arrows to my new ones because they're built exactly the same, But it's just such a solid. It's such a solid weight for that range forgiveness, but then also for the penetration. And I'm only a 26.5-inch draw length, and so like I do not get through shoulder bones very good. Sure, if I hit the edge or the weak spot of a shoulder bone on an antelope or a deer, I'll get through. But even on an antelope, even shooting a heavier weight arrow, I just don't get through the shoulder. And so for me, my theories on archery are revolve all around accuracy and forgiveness and being able to put that arrow exactly where I want it with a broadhead on the end of it. And so, like you were saying, practice with broadheads. I practice with broadheads year round. I always have a couple in my group. And then as I get closer to season, I'm almost shooting all broadheads into the target because I know they just fly a little bit different. And it's one thing to get good grouping with field points. It's another thing to get them to drive home with a broadhead, and especially like a fixed blade broadhead. And that's exactly what your arrows are doing now, man. They are just driving home to the target, and I get the range forgiveness. It's just the absolute perfect Western arrow, and I'm so
awesome.
pumped to be using them this season, man. I mean, that thing is going to be an absolute killer, and I can just tell all the work you put in. I love the micro diameter arrows. Like they catch less drag, less wind drift. Also, that smaller profile vane in a 4-fletch is going to get less wind drift as well.
Yeah, that was the whole idea, man.
Yep.
I mean, wind is such a big factor, and like growing up in the Midwest, hunting in the Midwest, like we really don't understand what you guys deal with out there, but like over the last several years, just starting to be exposed myself to Western hunting and understand that it's a totally different game. And like in the mountains, you can have, over a 60, 70 yard shot. The wind's not going the same direction the whole way. Like it's going multiple directions at times. So that wind drift is something that's really hard to account for in a shot, and just minimizing its effect can be really powerful. So that's a huge reason that we've stuck with the micro diameter platform. And like, yeah, we're working on some other arrows too that will not be a micro diameter. Like they'll be bigger for other reasons, but I just really think you can't beat it if you can figure out a good component system for it. Then which typically has been the problem, because like the deep six heads, like nobody really liked the deep six heads. It didn't really stick because it was hard to build components around it and connect a broadhead to a carbon shaft in a way that didn't just break all the time. So,
yeah, that's exactly right. Well, and I noticed with a lot of these front end components. Like, I'm really picky about my components. I love a consistent knock. It actually looks like you guys improved your knock again. These new arrows that I got had a newer knock on them.
Yeah, so that's just another area that we're messing with, man. I mean, um, we are working on a knock. Not sure when that'll be ready, but trying to make every little piece incrementally better, incrementally more efficient, and really paying attention to how to keep as much energy in that arrow as possible, whether it's calculating for perfect arrow flight based on the user's specs, or just things like keeping tolerances really tight, keeping and then that knock is kind of the next focus that we're working towards, is because it's kind of a pivotal connection. You know, it's what's delivering all the energy into your arrow, and we want to make sure that is as efficient as possible. So there's some really good knocks out there, and we're kind of taking what we like about several different really quality knocks. And then we're going to go get that injection molded and do some tinkering, and maybe you'll see that this year.
Well, it's the consistency too. It's like the connection between the arrow and your bow, and so to get the same fit, the same connection, and to not have it too tight where it's gripping or pulling your arrow in a way, it really makes a difference in your arrow flight coming out of the bow. And so I love those good back end components, and then the front end components.
Heck yeah.
Like there's nothing worse than hitting something hard and having it explode the front of your carbon arrow. But with your guys' components, I'm getting a true spin out of them, and so bomb-proof that I can hit anything hard and it's not going to blow up the end of my arrow, or I'm not going to get bad wobble in the front end of my arrow. And so, yeah, man, you guys are just absolutely nailing it. I can see all your hard work coming to fruition with these arrows, man. Just an absolute awesome build.
I appreciate it, man. I mean, like you said, it's only going to get better, and we're trying to, over the next several months, really trying to create better systems for collecting that data from our users, because it's been user experience that has mostly guided the development of these products, and it's a lot to manage, all the information that comes back from users, but we're trying to build better systems around that too, so that we can involve more people in making better arrows. So
it's
all
cool.
in a day's work.
Yeah, all in a day's work. That's right. Well, it's really cool too that your background is hunting whitetails in Midwest, but now you've started to come out west and hunt elk and hunt mule deer and things of that nature, and actually getting hooked on western hunting. But I bet it's kind of opened your eyes to like the needs of arrows, or the needs for archers, and the difference between eastern guys or whitetail hunters and western guys. So now you're really starting to tap into that western market and build the perfect arrow for us guys.
That's the goal, man. I mean, the western market is huge, and we see the difference we've been able to make for so many whitetail hunters, and really upping their game, and I believe truly increasing their success and improving their experience in the woods, and we just want to do that for the western hunter too. Like, I know that it's a different world, but we're not trying to be like, I know everything about western hunting. It's like, that's why the focus is so important on the data collection, is because we've got killer feedback from people who are really, really good western hunters, and we're trying to take all the feedback in and keep developing the products that make the most sense for people in different use cases. Like, I'd probably still take the HMR, on a grizzly hunt, so there's certain things that you're going to want to consider that heavier arrow for. or just if it makes you more comfortable to shoot a heavy arrow and know that when I hit something, it'll go through it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of conversation right now around like heavy arrows, and some people call it a fad or whatever, but I don't really know what to make of that because I do like to shoot a heavy arrow. But one of the things I hear all the time right now is like Plan B arrow. And this, there's some like people on the internet that have kind of popularized that idea, I guess, that, you let that arrow go, you don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen in those moments while the arrow's in flight. Animal can move, you can make a bad shot in the moment, whatever. And, in the off chance that you hit a heavy bone or something like that, or animal turns and you go through the ham, you want that Plan B instance to still be effective, and having a heavier arrow is kind of an insurance policy against, a suboptimal hit, right? So I think, there's a place for that. It really is personal. It's like, where do you find more confidence in, a heavier arrow that goes through anything, or a lighter arrow that is kind of the scalpel, right? That you can be precise and you're gonna put it right where it needs to be and it's perfectly adequate. Like, I think that's more representative of the Western hunter, especially with the range issues or differences, as you mentioned. And I think in the Midwest, it makes a lot of sense to just take a short shot and hit really hard. Like, I know for my whitetail hunting, like shooting a heavy arrow really changed the way I hunt all around, like, because I'm perfectly confident taking a hard quartering 2-shot with a good fixed head at short ranges. Like, I've shot through, knuckles and shoulder blades on whitetails for the last several years shooting the hammer, and it just glides right through them, man. And I really think, I used to pass on those shots and now I take them. It's increased my success rate, being confident to take more shots. So I don't know. That's kind of how I think of it. You can think of it as a Western arrow. You can think of it as an arrow that, because it's lighter, you get that flatter trajectory. It's a little faster shooting. I mean, it's just a different use case. So
it is. It's you're exactly right. There's two schools of thought, and no one arrow is going to fit every archer's needs. And you're
Sure.
right in that some guys feel like it's an insurance policy, which it definitely is. A heavier arrow is always going to penetrate better, and not only like you're talking about using for grizzly bear, but for elk too. Elk are the toughest animals on planet Earth, and you
Sure.
really want an exit hole out of those things. And elk usually not taking longer shots, usually closer shots that can drive
Sure.
home. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's an insurance policy, and it's the same reason why, guys shoot a fixed blade head. As a fixed blade head is just, it's not a mechanical is another moving part. It's another something that can
Sure.
go wrong, where a fixed blade, you're just dialed in. Now, there's that school of thought where you're going to get that penetration. It's going to drive home. If something goes wrong, that animal takes a step, or you make a bad shot and you hit the shoulder, you're more likely to get through that shoulder, to get through that animal, and to still harvest them. And so I totally see it. And heavy arrows, they pull towards the target. They're also affected less by wind. That heavier mass, you're gonna get less wind drift. And you talked about wind drift out here out west. Like, it's one of the biggest factors in making accurate shots out west. It is not only a 20-mile-an-hour crosswind, but even like a 5-mile-an-hour thermal wind. I notice it at 40, 50, 60 yards. It'll blow my arrow off target. And so I've got to really know the wind well. And so I think the HMR, or the hammer, is a great fit for Western hunting and a great fit for that school of thought. And I've used those heavy arrows before, but the ZMR is not a light arrow either. Like,
that's true.
I think
that's
a
true.
sight is like 380 or 400 or even a 410 arrow. Like these arrows are coming in at 450 for me, which is heavier than the average, where I think it's just the perfect mix of getting that weight and getting that penetration. And with a 450 grain arrow, even at a 26.5-inch draw, I get pass-throughs routinely on everything I shoot at.
That's
Deer,
awesome.
elk, bear, like it's just right for me. And my school of thought is like, I almost lean towards expandables. I lean towards better in-flight characteristics or aerodynamics, where I'm more accurate with those broadheads. So I'm going to hit my spot. For me, it's all about, if I hit them in the middle, they die. If I miss that spot, even with a heavy arrow, if I miss that spot, I've got maybe a 10 or 20% chance to get that animal. And so for me, I just focus all about accuracy and forgiveness. And then I aim 4 inches off the shoulder blade. And so I aim back, which is about center of the lung. So I can miss left or right and still hit my spot. And also, like an expandable for me, getting an 1 5/8 cut. It's a bigger cut. It's going to do more damage. If I do miss my spot and I do hit back a little bit, it does a lot of damage going through that animal, where I feel like I get a little bit better chance to get that arrow. But it does come down to personal preference, and it's just nice that you offer both of them, because I think they're both great hunting arrows. They're both great for Western hunting. It's just which arrow do you lean towards, and also we're all built different. I have a 26.5-inch draw length, so for me, I lose a ton of range forgiveness shooting a 550 grain arrow. But for a guy that has a 28 or 29-inch draw length, like shooting the lighter arrow, they might get more finicky and not get as good at accuracy out of their bow. They might get a better flight and a better accuracy, slowing down their bow to around that 280 feet per second, shooting that heavier arrow. And they can still get the range forgiveness out of that heavier arrow because they've got the longer draw length, which they pick up 6 to 8 feet per second for every inch of draw length they're over me. And for those longer arm draw archers, like I'm not sure how those tall guys sneak up on animals, since I'm only 5'7" and can hide behind a blade of grass, but those guys get way more energy out of their arrows. And so for them, that heavier HMR may be a way better fit than a ZMR. And so I just think it's great that you offer them both, because there are so many schools of thoughts around arrows and setups, and a lot of it comes down to performance, but a lot of it comes down to personal preference. But for me, that ZMR just fits the bill perfectly. Man, I'm so stoked with that thing.
I'm stoked too, man. I think it's going to make a lot of people happy, for sure. Especially with this iron will option. I think, it's really hard to make an arrow light and unbreakable, because with better materials often comes more weight. So, that's why some of the most durable arrows on the market are also heavy arrows, right? So, really building a lighter arrow. And to your point, I should probably use different words than light and heavy, because to me, 450's light, coming from just using and selling the hammer for a year and a half, 2 years now. The hammer's oftentimes mid to high 500 grains. It's a heavy arrow, in every sense of the word.
Yep.
But so going 100 grains lighter, to me feels light, but I guess it's all relative. But yeah, making it light and strong is really challenging, and that's why there are very expensive options out there that, I think of Valkyrie Archery. They make a great arrow with a proprietary component system, and I know Brent over there puts a lot of effort into that design, and he makes a 400 something grain arrow that's really bomb proof, and they're awesome. But it's hard to do. So that's what we're trying to do with the iron will system and with the ZMRs, getting that kind of threading the needle between durable and the right amount of weight. So yeah, it's tough. Got to use really high quality components. It's hard to make it an affordable option, but we're trying to do that at the same time too. So
everything's a give and a take, right? And
It
so
is,
if you want
yeah.
durability, you give up some weight, or vice
Sure.
versa, or everything has a give and a take to it. So choosing the right components, choosing the
Right.
right arrows and the right shaft to land in that middle ground, and to dance on that fine line between getting everything that everybody wants in an arrow and not giving up any of the key crucial parts. It makes sense, and I do. Man, those iron wheel just penetrate so good. That cut on contact 2-blade setup. There's nothing that penetrates better. So
Oh, man,
you're
they're
definitely
awesome.
gaining penetration there, and I think it's cool that you're designing your arrows with those components, man. Those things have to be just bomb proof with those iron wheels. Like I don't think a rhino could stop those things.
Yeah, yeah, I'm honored, honestly, to be able to do that. Yeah, and Bill's been a lot of help to us. He's a very smart guy, so
Super smart.
yeah, and it's been really humbling too to just getting Vector off the ground. Like, people have just come out of the woodwork to lend a hand. Like, I think of a guy who's become a mentor to me over the last couple of years, David Williams. Like, the guy has had a career of military consulting as a physicist, and studied ballistics and helped the military with ballistics and charts, and just, I mean, the guy's good at math. I'm not good at math, or web developer that I met in a Facebook group, like, who helped me build this software that's embedded into our website to handle these calculations, to build arrows to the user specs. Like, it's pretty cool, man. So I'm thankful. I've got a good team behind me. I can't pretend to be like a pro on any of this stuff, right? But we've got the right people in the right places that are truly masters in their field, and it's cool to be seeing this, convergence of people and information, and now we're able to turn that into a really killer product, that is going to improve people's experiences in the woods, and hopefully just keeps getting better.
That's it's one of the things I love about like entrepreneurship, and you're just a bow hunter that came up with this and had a need for a different style arrow, started building your own, and started learning, and started on this journey and building them for your buddies. But you've created this business from scratch, but you're one of us. You're an entrepreneur. You're a bow hunter, and you're constantly working to improve and make the absolute best arrow you can. Like, you're not just looking to put numbers on a spreadsheet or to sell a bunch of shafts. Like,
Sure.
you're looking to make us hunters better. Like, to build a product that's going to make us better in the end. And I just love putting my money towards good companies that make good products like that, like yours, which is
I appreciate it,
amazing,
man.
And so, like, I'm just I'm so
Yeah,
happy to
if it was
be.
about numbers on spreadsheets, we probably should have done something else. We say that pretty often. But it's fun, and it's just working. It's like, it's so worth the inputs for the outputs that we're seeing. Like, the success that we're able to share with our users. Man, that's the fuel, Super cool.
Oh, dude, it's super cool. Yeah, I can't wait to send you some positive feedback. I'm so excited to use these arrows this season, man. They're already flying so good that I can't wait to see what I can turn up with these things. But yeah, man, it's
Heck
just
yeah.
it's been awesome. What are your hunts that you're planning for this year? You coming out west?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what I draw, but probably Montana elk. My buddy Holden out there, I think we've got a pretty good hunt planned. Honestly, though, I've heard it said many times in many places, if you want to hunt a lot, don't work in the hunting industry. And like, our busiest time, like, it's, the most demanding time is going to be right through hunting season. So I've got some plans to hunt Wisconsin and Illinois for whitetail, and that's all, hunts I can do and sleep at home. And then Montana elk, and we'll see from there. But a lot of our content so far is hog hunting in Texas, because that's our slow season, man. We go shoot hogs in Texas. It's great testing for arrows because those things are super tough. They got big, heavy bones, and we just aim for the big, heavy bones and see what happens. And, if it doesn't go well, at least you're taking care of a massive issue for Texas, right? I don't know. So
what great
we
testing
do a lot of
grounds and
off-season type hunts,
yeah.
Still need to get out to Hawaii. I know that you guys do that pretty much every year, right?
Yes, Hawaii is great training grounds. Like the axis deer out there, they're so switched on. Like it's tough to beat a switched on whitetail. Like that species is really tough to harvest mature ones. So that's great testing grounds. But yeah, those axis deer are more switched on. They're so quick. They're so difficult to hunt and challenging to hunt, but it's an opportunity-rich environment. So you get a lot of chances to make mistakes and chances to make stalks and to get shots. And I always feel like
awesome.
a week in Hawaii is like doing an entire fall season out west. Like you just I may get throughout an elk season. I mean, last year I got in range of one bull, the bull I shot. Other than that, I saw bulls, I made plays on them, but as far as getting into bow range, I mean, I maybe get 3-4 stalks a season, and on axis deer, you're going to get 3-4 stalks in a morning. So you can get like years worth of experience in just a week of hunting there, which is great.
That's
It's
awesome.
such a great tune-up for season. And so, yeah, I'm going back out this year. In fact, I have a trip. It'll be testing grounds for your arrows. Like I'm going to go out there. I've got a plan to go out there late May, early June, which is right in the heart of the axis rut. I'm going to be hunting axis, and then I'm also hunting mouflon sheep, which is amazing. Like
Super
us
cool.
as Western hunters, I've been putting in for sheep my entire life. I have never drawn a sheep tag. I hope maybe this year's my lucky year, but I put out in every state out there. Like I just want the experience to be able to hunt them, but to be able to go to Hawaii and go hunt these mouflon sheep, man, they live in these lava rock gnarly canyons, and they're a real small-bodied sheep. Like they maybe weigh 60 to 80 pounds.
That's awesome.
But they have these curled horns. They're a beautiful colored animal. They're actually the mouflon sheep. See, I'm trying to get my facts right. For they were actually raised, or they're originally from Corsica is where they're from, and so they're a wild species of sheep, not like a tame sheep or something like that.
Sure.
And they are so switched on. Like their eyesight is absolutely out of this world. It's like hunting antelope. But almost like turned up antelope. Like they have such good eyesight. I have never had, like I've been crouched and sit in a position where I'm having these rams walk by me, and I'm tucked into the rocks. I'm totally camouflaged, no movement. And animals, they pick up on movement so well. So a lot of times if I can hold still, an elk or a deer or an antelope or a whitetail or whatever it is won't see me. And I've had these sheep walk by me totally camoed in, totally sitting still, and they still pick me off. Like they just they're so crafty. So like it's a really exciting trip that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, it's an amazing place to amazing testing ground, great for experience, just a great place to go. So yeah, I'm gonna put your arrows to work there for sure.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot too. We got a couple black bear hunts between the team here, so that'll be good too. Between Canada and Idaho, and we'll be all over this spring yet, and Turkey, of course. But I don't know. I kind of phone it in for Turkey every year, so.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Turkey seems to come at the same time of year as black bears here, so our black bear season opens up next weekend. So yeah, it takes precedent for me. I love chasing them, and they're one of the tougher animals out west. And especially for me, I'm bow only, so I'm hunting during bow for black bears, and we don't allow any baiting. So it's all done spot and stock. And
Sure.
it's really challenging. Like, I know where I live here in Montana, and it's one thing to kill a bear, and any bear with a bow is a trophy, but it's another thing to go look for giant bears. And like, you got to look over 10, 15, 20 bears to find that one next level that's the old
Yeah.
bear. And so
Sure.
I really believe like killing a mature bear with a bow is, especially here in Montana, is one of the toughest challenges I take on. And so like I've had years now. I can just go out in the evening. I live in good bear population, so I can work all day, go out in the evening. But I've had seasons where I put in 50 or 60 days trying to harvest a bear. So it's one of the toughest
intense.
challenges I take on. And so I've got to make sure that I spend a lot of time doing it. So turkey gets cut out every year, and then I'm just on to hunting black bears, where I've got 2 months to hunt them every evening, or every evening I can get out on weekends or any free days or anything. But dude, they're
Sure.
super challenging to kill a big one, and they're the perfect
Sure.
animal for a bow and arrow. Like they're kind of nearsighted, and so you can get away with more movement. Now, if you break a stick and they hear you, they're out of there spooked like a whitetail. Or if they catch your movement, catch you moving, like they're gonna spook. And so they're a little bit easier stalking than some of the other species out there, but they're just so tough to get stalks. It's like when you see those
Sure.
things, they're never close, like a couple hundred yards. They're always a couple miles away, and you're trying to set up and catch them in their feeding feature. It's just really tough to catch up to that big bear and get a good shot on them. So it's super fun though, man. It's so challenging, so fun.
Sick. That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pumped for you. Excited to see what you come up with. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some field photos headed your way. I can already tell that the way these things are shooting. And give me a shout if you draw Montana, if you draw the elk, or if you draw the elk deer tag. Like, I'm right here in Montana and can definitely help give you some insight, or like maybe you guys are heading around this valley or something like that. But yeah, definitely make sure to touch bases if you draw that elk tag. And yeah, hopefully you can continue to grow this business. I know when you first start a business, it all comes down to you and being responsible and making sure you're getting your arrows out. But eventually, hopefully, you get more time to enjoy the hunting as well, even though you're in the archery business.
Sure. Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate it. I mean, that was it was a joke at first. Like, if I just like make a business out of this, then I can write off my hunting, right? And that first year, building arrows and stuff, like kind of got everything shipped, and then I'd hit the woods and I had my hands on every arrow, and that was a lot easier. And now there's this whole operation around it, and we're really only getting started. So yeah, we got some growing to do, got some learning to do, and then there's more hunting down the road. Not that I'm not doing much hunting. My wife would say I hunt a lot. I should say that, because she sure feels like I'm gone enough. So.
No, I hear you there. Yeah, it's a tough balance between family, between work, and also enjoying what we love to do and our passion. And so it is finding balance there to where you can keep everybody happy and you're still enjoying and loving life. But dude, you're doing great work.
Thanks,
Vector
man.
Custom Arrows. Go check out the website. You can get those arrows built. I'm using the ZMR this year. Man, the thing is flying so good for me. This whole setup is just really coming together. So I'm excited to see what I can do with them this season.
Heck yeah.
You guys also have an IG page. Where else can guys follow you?
Vector Arrows everywhere. So vectorarrows.com, Instagram, Vector Arrows. That's where to find us. And HMR is available now. That's the heavy one. ZMR is I guess I should say mid-weight. Would that be?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that one's coming soon. Just waiting on some final things to come into place, and we'll be selling those momentarily. So just sign up for the email list, and we'll keep you in the loop.
Yeah, the ZMRs. You think you'll have those in by April, maybe May, something like that for guys?
Yeah, for sure. Early spring here, 2022. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, just awesome arrows.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yep.
Glad to have you along.
Oh, you guys are killing it. Yeah, I'm really excited about it as well. So, really happy to be partnered with you, and then also just to get to know you personally, Isaac. So, thanks a bunch, man. We'll
Yeah,
keep in
thank you.
touch, and let me know if you need anything from me.
All right, Brian. Thanks, dude.
Yep.
All right, guys. That's a podcast. Thanks to Isaac for jumping on with me and talking everything hunting arrows. Man, that guy's so knowledgeable about arrows and performance, and he's just constantly evolving and adapting to build the perfect hunting arrow. So, really cool company. Really happy to be partnered with them. If you guys are in the market for any arrows, make sure to check out Vector. Again, they've got a website that you can go to, put in all your specifications. They build the arrow for you, and then all it is they save your information, and then with one click, you can have another dozen coming, which works good for me, where I'm not sitting there fletching arrows, trying to get them ready for season. Guys just have great craftsmanship, great hunting arrows. Again, they have those two different lines, but really liking the ZMR and just getting some fantastic groups out of those things. So they're going to be killers for me this season. So if you guys are in the market, make sure to check them out at Vector. I also want to thank Savage. Again, just building great shooting rifles right out of the box. I cannot believe how well this 6.5 Creedmoor they built me shoots. You know, it seems to me like the performance of a custom-end rifle. Like the thing just shoots some groups. It shoots better than I can for sure. But yeah, really psyched with these. So make sure to check them out. A bunch of different platforms, all the way from budget up to their ultralight models that I know we really like. Their 110 ultralight. Accu triggers, the Accu stock, where you can adjust the length of pole and the comb height. Just amazing shooting rifles. So pumped for these things. If you guys are in the market for a new rifle, make sure to check them out. Also want to thank Sig Sauer Optics. Sig Sauer Optics are just building amazing optics, and I really like their standard binos. I run their 11 by 45s, also run their 15 by 56s. I also like their image stabilizing binos. They've got a 10 by pair and a 16 by pair, both just game changers for me and my buddies. I can't believe how many more animals I pick out having this image stabilization. So I really think it's the future of binos. Pumped on those things. Also check out their rifle scopes, which I put one on that Savage, which is performing really well, and also check out their rangefinders. I'm running the new Kilo 5K, just an amazing rangefinder. Great clarity in the optics, same range for light and dark targets. Does angle compensation, priority target mode, just a great rangefinder. So definitely upping my archery game, just having this high a quality of rangefinder. So, man, well, that's the podcast. Great one with Isaac. I've got some great ones coming up for you guys too. Really excited at some of the conversations I'm having. All in-depth Western hunting information. So we'll get that out to you guys, and then just want to get out good information at pertinent times. I do need to get out a bear podcast here, and gosh, I keep threatening. I swear on every episode that I'm gonna sit down and record some solos here. So I just need to take the time and do it, and make sure that I'm getting out some good solos for motivation here as we're coming into the heart of preparing for Western season, the summertime. Can't wait for this fall season. Got that bow shooting so good, in ripping shape, and getting a little light. I need to keep the weight on me, keep the food coming in for sure. I've been working hard here, and working out hard as well. So need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. But man, everything's going 100. Seems like fall is so far away, and then pretty soon it's knocking on the door. So I've got a hunt coming up here at the end of May. I'm super stoked with. So heading to Hawaii, going to be hunting axis deer, mouflon sheep. And I've got a pocket full of tags and a bunch of Vector's arrows, and can't wait to go hang out with some really good buddies and hunt hard for a week or so. So that'll be coming up the end of May. Try to record some podcasts while I'm out there, get some content as well. So super stoked. Just can't wait for this season to kick off. man, it's it's so fun living this bow hunting lifestyle, and always having something to look forward to, and having these big adventures that I'm going to be going on and embarking on. Just an absolute riot. So if you guys could talk to the tag gods and get me some really good sought after tags, that would be great. So far, I've blanked all the way around in New Mexico. I've drawn a couple tags in New Mexico, but gosh, just never drawn one of those elk tags or ibex or sheep tags, and I've been putting in forever. But it's just the nature of the beast. Just got to get my name in enough hats, and eventually they'll pull my name out. So nothing in New Mexico this year. See what else has come out. Yeah, Colorado, didn't draw any goat or sheep tags there. Really excited for like the Nevada draw, Utah draw to come out. We'll see if I can pick something up there. Maybe in the Wyoming. I know I blanked on Arizona elk. So tags are just getting tougher and tougher to come by. So it just means like when we do draw these tags to put our full effort in. And there's still a lot of opportunity out there. And I know I've already got a full season, so I've got nothing to complain about. I know I'll be bow hunting this year. I know I'll be bow hunting mule deer. I'll be bow hunting elk, bow hunting mule deer in the early season and in the late season. So really, that checks the majority of my boxes. And like I say, I'm hoping to get lucky on one of these really good tags. So we'll see what ends up there. So thanks you guys for the support. I really appreciate you. And with that, check in with you next week.